Welcome to Cast Connects, the podcast where business leaders, innovators, and industry experts come together to share ideas, insights, and strategies shaping the future of business. Here's your host, Teresa Mears.
Hi, I'm Teresa Mears, Chief Revenue Officer at CAS Information Systems, and here I am today with Tammy Schamber, who is the Director of Carrier Services with CAS's Transportation Expense Management Division. And we're going to be talking about practical tools for carrier visibility, getting more from what you already have. Welcome, Tammy.
Thank you.
Why don't you go ahead and tell us about yourself, what you do in a day, and what are some of the things that you would like to talk about and let the carriers know?
My frontline team supports all of our incoming carrier inquiries, whether that be phone calls or emails. And we're tackling, not only the education of the carrier to help them build up knowledge around the tools that we have available, but also just help them work through process improvement, as well as just ongoing maintenance that any one carrier would have around their structure, whether that's banking or remittances, etc. So that's really what my team has oversight of. And hopefully today we can highlight a couple of these opportunities that the carriers have to help build efficiencies on their side.
Can you tell me how the business unit processes invoices and what is the difference between clients and carriers?
So, our clients are enterprise organizations throughout the various industries, and they're choosing CAS to bring visibility and efficiency to their freight audit and payment activities. So, any transportation organization that they're interacting with, various modes, truckload, you know, ocean, whatever that might be, we're handling the incoming invoicing from those transportation organizations. And that's who we're calling carriers versus those clients that are obtaining our freight audit and payment services.
Gotcha. So the carriers would be the ones that are sending invoices into you on behalf, right, of the client. We receive the data, take it off the invoice, and make sure they get paid.
Correct. And the carriers have multiple ways that they can submit the invoicing. EDI, they have also a tool on our website called Invoice Upload, where they can send images of the bill and the backup through that workflow. And then there's some others as well that we use in our tool belt, whether it's spreadsheet billing or web forms, things like that. So, multiple options for the carriers related to billing presentation.
What are some of the common questions that you get from carriers?
We have a team working through these common questions every single day. One of the most prevalent is confirming the status of invoices. So everyone's trying to track this billing that they presented on behalf of their clients and trying to keep, full visibility to where those are in the various stages of our workflow. So that's certainly one of the tools I wanted to highlight today is our CAS aging tool that the carriers all have access to once they sign up and gain access to CASport. So that aging tool for them allows them to present their aging for any customer, and it will return immediate results to them at an invoice level, and it'll highlight where those invoices are within any stage of our process. So as long as they have been ingested, it will show if they're in review or in that audit stage or with our customer or whether they're set to pay or whether they're an exception that needs some attention.
That's some great information to have access to. So if they don't have access to CASport, that's something that they can request through your team?
Yes. So carrier support at casinfo.com is your main path to access to the tool. We'll guide you on how to go about that, give you instructions on that registration, and then also give you instructions on how to use the aging tool within the menu inside of CASport. We have it outlined as inquiry export. So that will be specific instructions that we can provide, and then that immediate access is there for the carriers to use going forward.
Great. What are some of the other useful information that they can get? Are they able to see, which client does more business with them? Or, is there any type of scorecard or metric that they can look at?
Yes, actually, this past quarter, a new dashboard went online, and it is called a scorecard, right? Carrier scorecard. And really what that is allowing the carriers to do is look across the landscape of all of their customer activity and assess, what's the percentage of automation I have achieved? What's the percentage of exceptions that I have at any given client level? What's the average days of processing that I'm looking at for any one customer? And so we've put that dashboard in front of our carriers now. Again, if you gain access to Cassport, you will have access to that scorecard dashboard. And we've gotten some great feedback from some of our largest carrier partners as they've started to use the dashboard. And we think it's a really useful tool to kind of drive that line of proactiveness that I think our carriers, want to have as they build, conversations with their customers, about some of the activity that is obviously moving through the process flow successfully and maybe some things that aren't moving through the process flow successfully. So those are all things that the dashboard allows you to kind of visualize and then, drive into with other lines of communication and or reporting.
So it'd be a great opportunity for the carriers to work collaboratively with their clients and with CAS, being the conduit between the two of really taking that data, that insight and being able to continue to improve in relationships, improve in the fluid of receiving the invoice and then getting it to the state where it is ready to get paid and get paid on time. Those at the end of the day, that's our goal. Get the invoice, get the data.
It absolutely is our goal. And I think we hear, sometimes when exceptions are occurring, that feels like there is something underlying, there like kind of underlying concern, that we're creating this situation in a way that doesn't feel, I guess, productive for the carrier. And really we've outlined a lot of this information as exceptions occur in our billing guides that are also out on Cassport to help guide them through how to navigate and continue to build up documentation for our carrier partners to help them digest when an exception occurs, how they can reconcile that. Because, it looks great when everything's working perfectly, but we all know that exceptions kind of drive the oversight that we have here, and so we just want to continue to be, more efficient in that path and more, transparent as well. So hopefully, some of the things we hope to have available to the carriers the last half of this year will continue to help them on that journey. In addition.
So on the Passport, what are some of the other things that they can go and grab off of there? Can they
Yeah, so not only can they utilize, our aging tool to pull down full access to statuses, they also have that dashboard. They have access to remittances. They have access to exception reporting. So if an exception has occurred, that is, reporting that is immediately available to the carriers. I mentioned the billing guide. So for each client that we have on board at CAS, we build a guide that overviews the requirements, whether it's automation or if it's, a manual presentation, what that needs to look like so the carrier can assess and try to be successful out of the gate.
does your team offer training to the carriers or carrier team if they need it?
We do, absolutely. Certainly we spend a lot of time when a brand new client and their carrier base is onboarding. But at any given time, if a carrier needed additional assistance, there is an updated full guide, carrier guide out on Passport that they can have access to once they sign up. And it goes section by section, to overview each of the tools I've mentioned and, give them some guidance and how to there. But if if they have questions beyond that, the carrier services team could definitely help them out.
So if the carrier gets their invoice through, they can track this information, understand maybe what some of the exceptions that are causing delays, get those fixed and cleaned up, and then they can get paid. So the client's happy, the carrier's happy, and Cass is happy because we've accomplished our mission in making sure they get paid on time. So what would be some of the reasons that people wouldn't go on and use Passport? Is it just maybe they don't know everything that it does, or they don't take the time to learn about it and maybe don't use it to its fullest extent?
Just in conversation with some of our largest partners, there's this perceived knowledge that they would have because they've, worked with CAS for an extended amount of time. And when we get very specific about these tools and that they do exist and that they should, hopefully take a little time to review and try to utilize them, it's always surprising to me even that somehow in the nature of their day-to-day business, they've lost sight that these opportunities are there available to them. So that's, I think it just reinforces that with as large of a carrier base as we have, that, we want to continue to highlight that these tools are there and ready for them to utilize day one once they sign up for Passport.
And the relationship with the carrier is just as important with the relationship with our client as well. And we have a lot more resources available for carrier, just not the Passport in of itself and the dashboard. I spoke with Eric Geary, president of our Cass Bank, and he and I had a conversation about equipment leasing. So the fact that Cass has so many other things to offer in the product line, there's also that level of communication and education with the carrier. So you and your team essentially are there to help build the relationship, help make sure that the carriers are educated, that they learn what they need to learn, that they use the tools in the best way possible, again, to ensure that they stay in business, that their invoices get received, that they get paid on time. So I think it's important that we do that. I think it's important that people realize that we care about the carriers just as much as we care about the clients and making sure that we deliver, our services cleanly.
Yeah. A carrier that is successful in support of our mutual clients is a happy, customer, I think. If their carrier base, sees success through their billing and collaboration and on-time payment, I think, that does have a direct effect on our customers. So we want to ensure that success of a carrier and, help them out as much as we can in that process. So definitely one of the other callouts I was going to make is almost at the tail end of this onboarding, with activity, whether it's various types of presentation or various stages that your invoice is in that you're tracking to and trying to maintain that proactiveness is cash application, right? So one of the other callouts I was going to make today is that we do have electronic remittances that are available to the carriers free of charge. So it's a standard transaction set 820 that carriers are likely familiar with and it's just another way for us to build automation that can feed directly into the carrier system that we hope adds to the efficiency of payment application. We have a lot of larger carriers using that tool, but again, maybe carriers in general just aren't fully aware that that's available to them and that they can sign up for it and that there's no additional charge and it would be sent to them directly as payments occur. So that was another opportunity we want our carriers to know about as well.
So then they would just import that file and it would reconcile with their AR based off of invoice and dollar amount. And that is definitely a great tool to have. I can see where that would save a lot of money or time and money.
Time and money. Yes. So it is at a detailed level, an invoice level. And, those that alignment there to their internal systems, should be immediate. And, for any variation that they may see, we could talk that through and verify that we're on the same page in order to ensure the success of any one of those files coming through to their system.
Great. Well, is there anything else that I didn't ask you that you wanted to share?
Those are certainly some of the main things that we interact with. I think just reinforcing that we do have that carrier support at casinfo.com team, and that they can reach out at any given time, and that there is a group of people there trying to assist wherever possible. And it'll take many different shapes and forms as we discussed today, but just so the carriers know they do have a path. And I think that that in itself I think is very helpful, for them, because I often hear, we don't know who to contact, right? So just knowing that team is available to you and these tools are available to you, I think in the end really starts to get the carrier off on the right path.
Amazing. The website, casinfo.com, we've given them the address at the end of this recording, and that's where they can find Cassport link as well. And they can also do a contact us through those links as well. But carrier, what was the email again?
Carrier support at casinfo.com.
Well, great. Well, thank you so much for your time, Tammy. And it was great learning more about the carrier and the services and what Cassport offers them, which is a lot of great tools to save time, effort, energy, and money, and getting them their payment quickly. All right. Well, thank you very much and have a great day.
Thanks, Teresa. Appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to Cass Connects. We hope today's conversation gave you valuable insights and ideas you can put into action. Visit www.cassinfo.com or email us at connectwithcass@cassinfo.com. Be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. And if you enjoyed the show, please leave a rating and share it with your colleagues. Until next time, thanks for joining us on Cass Connects. Unlock more. Connect with Cass.